everyone. Welcome. Hi, welcome. It's Thursday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and you are watching Beyond Small Talk every Thursday at 4 o'clock. My name is Jackie Janik, and I'm a women's empowerment coach, helping women uncover their purpose and define their own path in the world. And today you're watching Beyond Small Talk. Real women, real conversations, elevating womankind one talk at a time. And what else should we do to start out the new year but talk about goals? But I'm so excited to have my co-host this week, Vidya Ramachandran, and her handle is at vidya.r.warrior. But she has a new approach, and it's called Soul Goals. What does that mean, Soul Goals, Vidya? Well, guess what? We're going to get her on and figure this all out. So now we're working. Our technology is on our side. So Vidya, real quick, is a career coach who helps women show up as their full selves and navigate towards a career and life they are thriving in, using the power of alignment, relationships, and storage. She leverages her career over 15 years. She knows her stuff. Let's get her on and start talking about soul goals. And yay! Technical difficulties. It was me. It was, of course, the Samsung, not the iPhone. I'm sure you have an iPhone, right? But yeah. Anyway, hi. I am so sorry. We had a little technical glitch. I think it was me.
Okay, yeah, because I was clicking around. I'm like, but 9 times out of 10, it tends to be me. So
I'm so sorry. I am so
no
sorry.
worries.
So, but thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing okay today. How are you?
Good, good. Like I'm always excited for Beyond Small Talk. I'm
Yes.
always excited to connect with you. And when we started talking about soul goals and you forwarded me, everyone, video sent me soul goals. And I was like, what is that? And that just sounds so interesting because for me, I start the year. I'm sure a lot of your clients start the year, you do this goal planning. But then, like I said, by like January 4th, you're like, this
Yeah.
sucks. Like you just like fall off the goal train because it's not, I guess, the old way or traditional way of like setting goals that I've learned in the past just aren't working anymore.
Yeah, a lot of the times, I don't know how many of the people listening also feel this way, but I found that, either, we pick a goal and then we're either pushing ourselves, right? Like dragging ourselves over towards the finish line of whatever we've set our goal to be. Or like you said, a few days in, a few months in even, we just completely lose momentum and we drop it. And so I love the idea of soul goals, and I do have to give credit to my friend and business coach, Kirsten, for coming up with the term, but it's
Hmm.
really about finding goals that are, I would say, actually almost internally driven and aligned to us rather than something that an external force, person, situation is convincing us that this is the goal for us, if that
Yeah,
makes
that makes
sense.
total sense because at some point we're like, oh, we should be here. Life should look like this. Like last month I turned 45. So in my head, 45 is like, oh my God, I should act like this. I
Yes.
should have this kind of goal or this kind of life. And so I guess women would think, or I've done this in the past, be like, okay, so what's that goal look like? Or how do I get there? But it's more meeting societal norms versus my own truth.
Yes, exactly. And from a career perspective, since career coaching is
Hmm.
so much of what I do, like a promotion that you could go after, right? Like, are you setting that goal because you really want it, you really feel aligned and excited about the potential of the work that you could be doing, or because it's the logical next step, or your boss is saying you should go for it, or your family is saying, why haven't you, made it up to this level yet, or
Right.
whatever, so is it really for you, or is it for someone or something else? And the reason I think it's so important is because, like, I have a perfect example of a goal that was not a soul goal of mine about 5 years ago, which I think you might know of already, Jackie. It was when I was doing training to run half marathon. And I'd signed up for this program. And if I had taken the time to really go through the prompts in this worksheet that I'm actually going to, share with everyone, the gift everyone who's listening right now, I would have known that it wasn't the goal for me. But I got caught up in the excitement. Like, it was a program I was hearing about in a group of people. Everyone else was all really excited about, and I got caught up, swept away. And then I went through it. I ended up dropping it after the first half marathon. But I think about all of the time and energy and money I put into it. And I could have used that bandwidth for something else that was much more aligned, would have made me so much more happier and brought more joy and things that I loved. And so that's where it's really about focusing on, is that goal really aligned to you and to who you are and to what you want?
So I guess like then that leads me into being curious, like, how do I know what my soul goal like is? Like, and I know you're a career coach, so we'll stick to career and professionalism for this part of the conversation, because I'm sure, like you said, it could be health, it could be a million things.
It could be anything.
So what would you say, like, so I understand, so soul goals is what you're saying is like what internally you feel, like your intuition, what would light you up to do. How do we start to figure that out?
Well, so I would say, what is it that you want? So for example, I'm bringing to mind a client of mine that I was working with last year, and we started working together, and she was really stuck and frustrated with work. And we couldn't figure out. And so this is where career does spread out throughout life, right? Because she was really stuck and frustrated at work. And we were trying to look at what it was. She had her work goals. But then what we realized as we dug deeper into what her values were, what her hobbies and interests and passions were, we realized she had been completely closing off this whole area of creativity. Like, she did art typically, she would love to do art and design. And really, she hadn't been focusing on any of that while she was in this job. And so even just setting some goals around bringing more creativity into her life by, she ended up taking a couple, like an interior design class. It just allowed for that flow to come up and that joy to come up and that creativity. And then that percolated. I don't know if percolate is the right word, but it's like it bubbled up and dispersed.
Yes, it like dispersed. Like, yes. I see the hey movement. I totally understood you. So
yeah, and so that's what it is.
Flowed.
Right?
Yeah.
It flowed, and it flowed throughout, not just in that career. Like, even though it wasn't a career goal, it helped her helped her be less frustrated for that time that she was in that job, because she had these other things. So it's really about dipping into what are your values, what's important to you. And then, like I said, some of the prompts that I have in the workbook will be helpful with that as well. But getting to know who you are, thinking about yourself as a child again, right? What lit you up when you were a kid, and using those to help craft. And it can be a bucket list or like a laundry list of goals, but really starting from that place to generate ideas of what would be a fit for you.
Yeah, I remember because you were on season 1 and we talked about warrior strategy, right? And talked about career. And I keep taking this one tip that you gave us was, how do you feel in your body when you walk into like either your office or wherever you are around your career or your profession? So that I've been taking with me all the time and using it in all different areas of life, not just professionally, because it like you said, it flows through all parts, and I truly believe in a holistic approach as well. But I guess maybe that's, first of all, everybody who wants to listen, go back. I believe it was episode 24, because this really, like, it goes in tangent together. Like, you're jumping off and now entering the soul goals. But you gave, that's a really good one to be like, how do I feel in my body? Gives a lot of clues about what's aligning with you. What do you want, right?
Yes. And like you would think of yourself in your day-to-day of your job, think of yourself in the day-to-day of working towards this goal, right? And then how does that, so using that same concept, how does that make you feel? Like, the thought of running, for me, I don't like running at all, at all. And for me to have been running around the streets of DC, which is where I lived at the time, to train for this half marathon, it just, thought of even putting my sneakers on and the coat on in the winter to go out. If I had paid attention, this was 5 years ago, if I'd paid attention to my body, it would have been so clear to me that those were not the goals. Whereas
Yeah.
there are other things that can light you up. Like with my client, I was talking about like the creativity aspect, just like lighting her up and feeling more expansive. And so,
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's like so I guess to just recap real quick for people is that your soul goal is really like intuitive. What's inside that lights you up? Where's your values, your standards? What makes you like, what brings you joy? Having even, I talk a lot about like a joy list, creating a list about, so when you're having one of those shitty days or you're just like, what is life doing to me? You don't have to think about like what will bring you joy. You could just go to your handy dandy little list and be like, oh yeah, that does. Let me go do that, and then from there start crafting like your goals. What do you want? So for example, for me, I really would like to work on my health more, meaning that at 45, I want to pay attention to what my body's saying. I do want to get fit. I have a different mindset, so I'm hard on my body, meaning I'm like, oh, I want to be skinny, But I'm like, that's not it. I want to be fit, and I want to be healthy, and I want to be energetic. So for me, that's going to the gym. And like you were saying about running, I hate the gym. Like, I hate everything about it. However, I like how the gym makes me feel.
yes.
Right? So I really like how after I've been going now for 6 weeks that I can do more weight. I can stay on the treadmill longer. Like, I'm liking the results. So what if like you have this soul goal, but there's kind of like, you don't love it all the time? Should it
Yeah.
still be, is it classified as a soul goal then?
Yeah, because you're not going to love everything all the time, right?
Well, this is good because people are going to be like, well, this goal, I had 5 minutes of not loving it, so junk it. No, like, we got to be realistic here. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you want to look at the overall, like everything holistically, right? Like a lot of times I think the thing is we forget the process, but then we're so focused on the end goal. And sometimes the process, it's about the balance of, is the process consistently draining your energy so that the light that you get from achieving the goal is so dimmed because it was so painful to get there? Or is it just, we're all going to have bad days. We're all going to, I would say if there is an aspect. So I have another client I was talking to about running because she does run. And for her, she likes running because she gets that feeling, the endorphins and everything afterwards. And she feels so great afterwards. So even if it's uncomfortable for her to do the running, it's the end result is she's getting that feeling that she really wants. And then that helps propel her forward. Right. So I would say, like I said, it's not going to be every day is going to be joyful, as with anything, even with jobs or anything, right? Like you're going to have some days where you're feeling like you're under the grind, but the overall process and the overall energy and time that you're putting in, if you're thinking about it longer term and holistically, should be more positive than negative.
Okay, so that's a really good point because you just heard what I said. Like, if I don't like it for a second, I'm going to be like, screw this. It's not a soul goal. So what you're saying is like the process, obviously, there's going to be, it doesn't like go like this. Like you have ups and downs. And, I think of it more maybe my rebound from going down and keeping it more, what's the word? Of course, when this goes into like a podcast, people don't see us doing movements, and I'm always like, people are like, what were you doing? And I was like, I use my hands a lot. Is something to really keep in mind. So first we establish what our soul goal is, and then when we're going through it, just don't give up on it, knowing that there'll be ups and downs, but there's more ups than downs, and that we see that getting there. So it's kind of like my working out. As much, I can't say that I hate it as much as I hated it 2 weeks ago. Like I probably hate it a skosh less because I'm seeing results that I like. Like I went this morning, it was 7:10. It was like in the first 10 minutes, I was just like, this sucks. Like I just kept saying in my head, this sucks too, which probably wasn't, useful. But that's real. Like I was sitting there, I was like, this just sucks. And then after I got over the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. So, oh,
Yeah.
neutral. Yavi
Neutral.
said
Yeah.
neutral. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, being more of a state of neutrality during the process. I like that. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, so now we have them. We're going through the process. Then what can happen? Like any other challenges that can.
Yes, the biggest thing. So I did a workshop on this last year around this time, and the biggest question I got was about the implementation. And one of the things I would say is, you have your list, you have your short list. They've gone, you've gone through and checked off, yes, this is a soul goal, and you might have like 4 or 5 things on there. I would highly recommend just implementing one at a time. Get some momentum on one, because the more energy and focus we put on it, the more, and actually scheduling it into our calendars, I have found is really helpful, because me just saying, at least for my experience, me saying like, oh, today I'm going to fit in a yoga class. The next thing I know, it's 8 p.m. at night and I have not fit in my yoga class, right? So really scheduling it in and taking in one at a time. And this concept really came to me from, I heard a couple people talking about how we can only spin like 3 plates at a time outside of our business as usual. And so thinking about it from that perspective, if we have like 5 different goals and we're trying to split our energy and focus across them on top of our job, our family, everything else we've got going on, it's going to be really hard for us to see any momentum, and then we'll get more discouraged as well. And so really, I would say like taking ideally 90 days to say, okay, I'm going to start with this goal. I'm going to focus on the steps, and I have it in my calendar. I'm, moving along. And then I'm also checking in with myself as I'm going over time to say, do I feel really grounded in this? Am I enjoying the process? All these things.
Yeah.
And then, if you are seeing progress and you're like, oh, I've got a good handle of this, it's now almost like my business as usual, maybe I can throw another goal in there, right? So like it's really about assessing and reassessing and making sure you are putting the energy where you want it to grow.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And just, it's easy to go for me to think of it in like, health and what I'm doing. So it's like I'm around 6 weeks of working out. So I can see that if I'm consistent and make it part of like more of a habit of my daily lifestyle, then I could add something else, on top of that in a different area of my life and apply the same things. But of right now, you're right. Like if I started to add like another element, it would just feel a bit overwhelming, and I'd probably just say, forget it. Like I'm constantly, what I am constant is about restarting this health thing. At least I'm not giving up on myself, and I'm not giving up on looking to be more fit and how to do it and how it works for me, because at 45, my health fitness routine looked way different than at 25.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I can relate.
I'm like, oh, what is going on? I just said to myself, what is going on, body? This is where you said, listen to your body. So I've been doing that, and I've been asking body, what is going on? 45, you're giving me another gift on my body, and thank you. And what am I going to do with this?
And then actually what you said reminded me, like, it's also about defining what success is to you, right? Because success to you now is not what success at 25 would have been. And so being really clear that you get to choose how you define success, and then use those parameters to help you have, because the worst thing is if you're like, oh, I want to, so perfect example, learning a language, for example, like, I want to be fluent in French. It's just so open-ended, and you don't like, how are you measuring your fluency, blah, blah, blah. But if you were to say that, okay, they grade levels of a language, at A, B, C, D, for example, and I want to get through this year, I want to get through level A and be able to, because there are some parameters and criteria around, if you are at level A, that means you've got A, B, C, and D, or 1, 2, 3, 4. And so having a little bit more structure around what does success mean will also help you from getting discouraged and thinking that you're on this never ending journey that you don't know where the finish line is.
Right. Which I think that's important because part of the goal, and then you're going, like I'm just thinking this through, and then going through the process and what success looks like. I think it's important for us to, yeah, really define that because for me at 25, what success looked like is, you know, being skinny. I'm talking 20 years ago, and this is all I cared about, so I couldn't wear, you know, crop tops and go to the beach or whatever. To me now it just looks like having the energy to run around with my daughter or even at work during my day job I work on the second floor to go up and down the flights of stairs without feeling out of breath. You know,
Exactly.
like that looks success. Fitting into having my clothes just feel, you know, better on my body, like not snug and just feeling like things fit again, you know,
Yes.
or yeah, that's a really good point. So part of my goal is like, yeah, I want to get healthy and fit, but really what does that look like? Like what does that
Yes.
success of that looks like? Oh, I love this. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down look because I knew you were going to give some good ones and this is my little notebook. Don't forget
I
because that's
love
another
it.
thing at 45. I had a neurologist on the end of Beyond Small Talk, and I was like, oh, girl, this is why you came into my life, neurologist, to do some memory exercises. Anyway, that's another
Yeah.
talk. Okay, so any other challenges that may pop in? I feel like we want to be prepared for any roadblocks.
Yes. So I would say again, like really focus on the scope of what you want. It's fine to, if it's a larger goal, then it's about can you parse it out and say, okay, here are the midpoints or the, you know, the
Hmm.
points along the way so that you are still seeing some you know, like you have some area parts in the journey that you can say, I've reached this milestone, I've reached that milestone. And then it also will help you stay reinvigorated and re-energized as you see yourself moving towards those. But always constantly checking in is the main thing because what might be really aligned to us now, and I think a lot of us has probably experienced this in the last year, what might be aligned to us at one point can shift and change
Mhm.
over time. So it might not be still aligned to us. And then at that point, we get to make the decision, is this something that I want to still continue or pursue? Or is this something that I'm ready to say, I'm done with this one for now and I'm ready to bring in something else? So that's one thing. And then another thing is, I
Well,
think
that's
there's,
really good. Sorry to
no, go
interrupt,
ahead, go
but
ahead.
like checking in with oneself, I think also that, and I know I do, like if I set a goal, I then all of a sudden become, like you were saying, so attached to it. Like, why can't my goal be flexible and fluid and move with me with no judgment? So say if I started out and then after checked in with myself and I was like, this doesn't feel aligned anymore. This is not my soul goal anymore. Like, it's okay that we change it and it evolves with how we move, right? Because I feel like you get
Exactly.
attached, like, oh my God, I'm not, you know, who's judging you besides you? Like, who else really
Exactly.
gives that much shit about your goals except you? Not to be like all blunt, but I don't see like, you know, other people so attached to my goals as you are.
Yeah.
So I think that was a really good key that check in with yourself without judgment. If you want to evolve your goal, yes, room for flexibility. Like it's okay, you can change it, right? Okay.
Yes, exactly. And then the other thing, this might be a small challenge, but you know, with it being January, right? That tends to be, I think, what everybody says, okay, I have to set my goals now.
Yeah.
And I was actually working with a client this week who things had happened, come up, and she was telling me, like, I just haven't had the bandwidth or the mental capacity to really think through. And I was like, you can set a goal whenever. I set a goal today for like the next month. I'm going to really focus on getting better sleep. And so, and for me, it has always, again, going with the flexibility, fluidity, because you know, like, yes, the calendar we follow starts in January, but there's the astrological calendar, which starts at another time. And then one of the calendars I follow, because my parents are from India, and we tend to still follow one of the calendars that they followed growing up. That's like the new year is in April. And so, like, there's just so many, it's all cyclical, and you can really start whenever you want. And so, hopefully, that, if you're hearing this, like, that gives you a little bit more of the flexibility and freedom to not so tightly be held by it has to be in January. And if I haven't, figured it out, then, the
Right,
end of
and
the
then you're
world
just
is
like,
here.
screw the rest of the year,
Yeah.
right? Like, wait, I need my goal, and if I don't have it in January, what's the point? What's the
Yeah.
point? There's like tons of points. Like
Yeah.
you said, just because here Americans, we go on this, January to December doesn't mean the rest of the whole human race does this.
Yeah.
And that a goal can be started anytime, any place, if it aligns with how you're feeling. And that's a really good one too, because I think people like fall in that trap. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it has to be January and I didn't start my goals yet. It's January, what's today, 14th? I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Exactly. Exactly. And then I would say, like I said, the check-ins help with that too. Like, as you keep
Yeah.
checking in, then it really, you lose that, oh, I'm, waiting until next January to check in, or next, just, at the end of this year to check in. So yeah, it becomes more
Yeah,
that
and I
fluid
think,
process.
yeah, that's it. Just put it into the process, these check-ins.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you ask yourself? I tend to ask myself, and I liked, again, how do I feel in my body? I
Mm-hmm.
think this is like such a good one you gave us. How do I want to feel? How do I feel in the moment? Just being really mindful. So I think about, how do I get to the place to answer those questions? For me, I just stay really present and quiet, journaling, meditation. And I know people always give this
Mm-hmm.
as like, oh, that's how you find it. And it's not for everyone. But I do want to offer people to just give it a try. I really I know sometimes I'm like, oh, everyone says to journal or meditate. There might be a reason why, because it can work.
Yes. I have found
Yeah.
ideas, like, if I just give myself the space, like, take a
Yes.
couple hours, and don't say I have to be done by in the next 60 minutes, right? Like, give yourself the space to really, whether it is journaling or reading or meditating, to get into that process. And then you never know what I had a whole program that I pulled together last month that I'm fleshing out the details, but
Uh,
just from a day of, I spent like a couple hours just journaling out ideas, and bam, right? So it can be quite magical, actually.
Yeah, and I love how we've discussed this before. Everyone, Vinny and I sit and we have, this isn't like our first meeting.
Yeah.
And space is just such a trend, like a key that keeps coming up for a lot of women. Where do you find the space physically, mentally? And it's all, especially in New York, especially over the past year. I've been in an apartment, and yeah, it could feel like a lot, like the walls coming in on you when you're in a small
Yeah.
apartment and they tell you quarantine, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I need space. Like, this is whatever. But
Yeah.
anyway, I tend to find space in the shower, and I think other people do, like the
Mm.
water and just the sound of it. And I just added eucalyptus to my shower.
Oh, yes, I saw your picture. It looks
It
amazing.
it was so cheap too, $3.99 at Trader Joe's. And then I took twine from my mother's house and I wrapped it up, and I was like, oh my God, like I love it. Like the smell, and it just like brings me joy. Like that
Yeah.
brings me a little joy, where after I do that, I can then start thinking and checking in, because then you're more present, right? You're more in the
Yes.
moment if you have that kind of joy to you. That just dawned on me. Like, maybe that's why in the shower things come to me, because I'm so present in the moment with the water and the smell. And so I encourage listeners to find that space for yourself, to start with the soul goal, go into the process, figure out how to check in with yourself, and define what success is, right? And start whenever you want. Start
Yes.
today, guys. Start
Yes.
today. You want something, you feel aligned with it, start today.
Exactly.
This was so much. Again, like I'm writing this all down and we could review it together on a post and just continue to share Vidya's wisdom with us. So I know we've been talking about, I have two last things for you. One, you could pick the order that you want to do it. I also want to hear a little bit about how you take on your own personal self-care and if you can offer any tips for the listeners. And you said if everybody stays till the end, there's a little gift, special gift.
Yes. So for the gift, I thought I had the link copied, but it's not pasting. So I'm going to have to look it up. So if you will bear with me so I can type it in. But while I'm looking it up, yes, my self-care. So this was a big aha moment for me a while ago. One of my mentors, Carrie Montgomery, framed it to me as self-care. The point of self-care is to prime you for your day. And that completely shifted. It was a light bulb moment. And so for me, this is why I actually was mentioning one of my goals right now for the next 30 days is to really have better sleep. Sleep and rest. As of today, I'm starting some yoga nidra meditations to help me with that as well, because I've realized that sleep, journaling is big for me, listening to music. I found classical music. I finally joined Spotify. So I've been listening to a lot of classical music playlists. And then dance is really big for me. I've always had some form of dance in my life. So whether it's actually practicing like choreography or just playing music and moving around. And then meditation that's a little bit harder for me, but I do, when I give myself the space, like we just talked about, like it does really allow for just a sense of peace. And for me, the peace and the joy are the two key aspects of self-care.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
No worries. And then while I do that, okay, I'm going to type this in. I did create
and also I'll copy it and put it on the post as well.
Okay.
So we can do both. If you want me to put it on the post, if you don't want me to put it on the post.
Oh, no, you can put it on the post too, but I'll also get it. So anyone who's people who are on here live can grab it.
Thank you.
If you'll just give me the 2 seconds to type this in, because
go ahead. I'm thinking more of some soul goals for myself because, like you said, pick one. So I guess I'm prepared. My one right now is around fitness, health and fitness. So okay, I got mine. But it's nice to be prepared. Oh, there you are.
That should be it. As long as I didn't do any typos. That's what
Soul Goals Workbook.
Yeah.
Bitly, I love Bitly. It just makes life easier.
Yes.
Soul Goals Workbook. Would you like to tell us just a brief little tidbit about it, like what it is?
It covers 7 prompts that I have found really effective in helping us decide how to choose the soul goals that are aligned to you. So, and I want to also give a shout out to Yari, who helped me with the design. She created the design for my workbooks.
So good at it. Yeah, she's very talented. Awesome. Oh, we're going to download, people. Go to Bitly Soul Goals Workbook. I'll also include that and get the prompts, get your soul goals on. I love that. It just feels so much even nicer to stay. You know what I'm saying? Like you just feel even good, which that matters too. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining today. So appreciate you. Thank you to everyone listening on Beyond Small Talk every Thursday at the 4:00 hour. And now that you're on Spotify, you can listen to yourself on We're at Spotify, iTunes podcast, Audible. I didn't even know I was on Audible until I just was Googling. I was searching on Audible, and it automatically went on Audible. So I'm on Audible to Beyond Small Talk, or on YouTube, or check us out here on IGTV. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.